Welcome
Morning
everybody to
or afternoon.
VO Journey Academy Live. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, Gabby.
Happy Monday. See,
It's good.
it's noon and I'm still like, "It's
Oh, that
morning,
hurt.
isn't it?" No.
It is. It is Mondays. Mondays, Mondays. I think
Oh,
that's what we're gonna talk about today is Mondays and what we do to get through Mondays. First, coffee mugs. So I want to share coffee mugs. So what do you have today?
so I have I don't know how well
I
you
don't
can
know if you
see
get it.
mine. Yeah,
Oh,
there it is. It's my
oh, cool.
Starbucks military commemorative Veterans Day, mug that
I
I keep
love it.
around.
I love it. No,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah,
I
it's
I, I
my
have my waiting for my letter from Hogwarts
you're
coffee mug.
adorable. You're adorable. Yeah, on the inside, this I loved this mug because it says "Proudly serving those who serve."
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, "That's freaking
That's
cool."
awesome. And you
So,
know what I think is really cool? There's so many different things about this is a random conversation about coffee mugs. But an interesting thing I learned more about because you're doing coffee time for so long and then doing these, right? Is there's some mugs that are meant to be like for you to see, and there's some mugs for other people to see, right? And there's like it's interesting, like that's a really cool thing that you get to see the writing inside that, right? Or
yes,
and
yes.
then and then not all of them have stuff on both sides, right? And some only have them on one side. So, it's just a
Yeah,
cool thing
yeah,
you
no, it's always
recognize.
it's funny because I do think since we're talking about, motivators and Mondays, and that's a fun part of my morning. Like, which mug is it gonna be? Like, it's a little, it's one of those little things that helps you get through the doldrums and the and I always kind of have fun with
Absolutely.
that selection process of like, what does today feel like with my mugs? Yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey everybody, we're excited to have you. Make sure, as always, you say hello in the chat, and if you have any questions or whatever for us and voiceover, we'll be happy to do the best we can to answer it.
Absolutely,
Um,
despite the slight fog.
Yes. And speaking of the fog, so Mondays.
Yeah.
It's always funny. It's funny. I was talking to my wife last night about it. I said, every Sunday night, I always say, I need a vacation. Because you wake back up and we're like, hey,
It's
we have
true.
um we have a full week ahead of us, and
Mhm.
there's so much going on, and Mondays always, I don't know if it's just we must be I think we're programmed from little being, little kids, especially in
Yeah.
our country,
Mhm, mhm.
because Monday through Friday, that's always been, it's Monday through Friday. There's
Yep.
never a day off. You always do
Yeah.
that. And then with our businesses, we typically work almost 7 days a week. I mean,
It's
because
true.
we are working usually full-time jobs or mostly, and then
I
also
try
doing
not to,
this.
but yeah.
Oh, wait, get that thing straight.
Yeah, she's a little crooked today. Um, but yeah, it does. It definitely goes back to being school-aged and all of that, but I always feel like there's never enough time on the weekends. There's
Mhm.
always, so much stuff I need to get to, and it's tough. I just see one of my favorite people has joined us today.
You do. Who is
I'm
that?
squirreling. I'm squirreling. It's Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Oh my goodness. And she is the owner and founder of Volunteer Voiceover. And I love her to pieces. Anyway, little
Love
shout out.
it. Welcome to Melissa and
Oh.
everybody else too. I think is it Kaisen? Said, morning, Anthony and Gabby. Love the new segment and appreciate you guys for all your insights. Thank you so much. Thank
Thanks. Yeah.
you, everybody. Sorry if I butchered your name. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
we try.
But yeah, I always, it's funny because Mondays are, to me, have become even more a reflection of how prepared or unprepared I am in my business and in general and what's happening. Like, what do I have planned?
Mhm.
What systems do I have in place? It almost goes back to a discussion, for me too, about how is my business running?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times I used to feel like whenever I would go to work my full time job, Do you know what I mean? It was either A, I had planned for stuff, or B, I didn't, and it was always like on the drive to work. What I had to get done today? What I had to do? What was the first thing I had to do? There was always this,
Yeah.
like because it was I never or I hadn't spent a lot of time planning ahead. I think that can help Mondays. What do you think?
Yeah, it does. I like one of the things I really try to do. So I'm a big I try not to work on weekends person, right? But I always, always, always check my email because if I don't Monday, it's like I already feel like I'm starting the day
Mm-hmm.
buried.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even if I haven't looked at it all weekend, I will make it a point Sunday night to check email and to just kind of purge some of the
Oh
garbage.
yeah.
This way I'm not overwhelmed right at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Um, I also give myself a little bit of extra, um, how do I want to call this? Like, like just fool around time on Monday morning, and that like I'll spend, maybe 20 minutes like on a YouTube video about something that I'm just non-related to work, just to give my
Okay.
brain sort of an ease into work mode if I can.
Dance party Monday.
Yeah, something,
Yes.
something. And in
Mm.
our industry, it's also because we're isolated, and
Mm-hmm.
so Monday can feel lonely where
Oh
there's
yeah.
almost like there's like a dopamine drop
Oh yeah.
because, we're coming off of weekends and time with friends and family and so Monday, like, you head back into the studio and you're like, "Oh,
Oh, most definitely.
yeah."
And then let alone talk about the weather. I mean, the
Mhm.
weather plays a huge
Sure,
part. If it's sunny, if it's not
sure.
sunny out, if it's not, one of the things I wish I could figure out, and then probably if I put enough effort into it, people would deal with it with me.
Mhm.
But I do feel like it would be nice to figure out a way to do more outside while working on, what we do. It's just hard because
It is.
everything we have is in a studio. It's in my chair. Now I do stand up when I do voiceover, but
Yeah.
everything else is here. So that's something. But I do remember when I was working a full time job. So both you and I, as everybody knows, both Gabby and I, we do this full time now. We're blessed to do that. But there's a lot of you who don't do this full time. You have a full time job,
Mm,
and you're also doing this full time. So
mhm,
you're working two full time jobs,
mhm.
and so that in itself is double the trouble. I do remember early on though, for me, I was very excited to do this. Like early on, it was this what's the word I'm looking for? It became an obsession, right? I was obsessed with doing like my business, right, early on.
That
I'm
makes
not saying
sense.
I'm not obsessed now, but now I'm kind of in that place where it's like I'll pace myself.
And it's
this is a
always
this
it's
is a
always a
long journey.
passion project in the beginning because if
Yes,
it's not, why would we do it?
right,
We would
right, exactly.
never have the motivation to do it if it weren't for that. So I totally understand what you're saying.
No, absolutely. So I think early on that pushed me through, and I do see that does help early on.
Mhm.
But over time, you realize, like I was joking, you realize, this is a marathon,
Yeah.
and it does help. Here's something that we could talk about. I think that would help people. That helped me a lot. Um, After a bit, and many of these Mondays, and still today, I wanted to try to figure out because there's so many things that were flying at us all the time, not just from our families and our lives and our jobs, but in our business. But emails, should I be putting up a profile here? Should I be doing a demo there? Should I be doing an audition over
Oh,
here? Should I be emailing
yeah.
there? All of these things. Oh, and wait, I only have this amount of time. And Monday, I know in my mind, back of my mind, if I'm not like that's the one thing when you talk about Mondays too, right? It starts off the week. So if you start
Mhm.
off on a good foot, it really sets the tone for the week. If you
Yeah.
start off on not so good a foot, it can really cause, I think, just a ripple effect. So what I did is I stepped back and I said, what are 1 to 3 main things that I must do, at least in my mind at the time, that I must do to have some modicum of success.
Mm,
Just 1 to 3 things. I want to do 50, but what are 1 to 3 things that I must do every single day, no matter what? And I know if I did those things, I will move my business forward, even if it's inching it forward. I'll move it forward,
right.
and I'll feel, at least I'll feel somewhat accomplished
Yeah.
that I did those things. And I found that I did that. I put that. I actually in my house I had gotten chalk paint and I painted my wall with chalk, and I would write on
Chalkboard.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have to say what my goals were, and they didn't change. It would just be I would erase how much I did that day, whether it was auditions, making content. I had 1 or 3 things I had to do every day. That helped a lot. Do you have any little things that you have done or you do or you know
Yeah, because hold on. So I was going to ask. So, did those three things change all the time, or did you find that there was something consistent that became part of that day to
No, it
day?
was consistent.
Okay.
It was wild. So I realized that I had to do a certain amount of auditions every single day. That never
Mm-hmm.
changed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had did those auditions, I would always have a job.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing. So interestingly enough, the work of doing voiceover was not actually what was the most important thing
Isn't that
that I
funny?
it is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the activity that led to that led to voiceover work that was what the most important
Yes.
thing of that day was, right? Even though you still have to do the work, the
Mm-hmm.
voiceover work when it comes in, that was not what was on the board,
Yeah.
right? Content.
Okay.
I had to create a piece of content every single day, no matter what. Whether it was me talking, whether it was me doing a podcast, whether it was me making a picture, or it was me putting up a video of a voiceover I had done, or a client that had sent me something, or
Mm.
making something, writing a sentence. I had to create a piece of content every single day. Those were the two main things. Over time, I added a little bit more here or there, but those 2 things were that was I had to do those every single day, no matter what, and that built my business. That built my business nonstop. It built my business. Now, I would say the content I created also too, because as I'm talking and blabbing on right now, thank goodness, God gave me the gift of, oh, that's funny, the gift of gab from with Gabby. So maybe God bit both of us the gift of gabbing a little bit. You know what I mean? So I didn't have a problem
We're
talking.
Italian. It applies
There
to
you
our
go.
entire
That's
culture.
exactly what it
The
is.
entire, yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So at least I was blessed with that, but that was very helpful. But I had to tell you, the auditioning, the nonstop and the consistent work. It was funny. I changed what I thought about it. I realized that it wasn't me. Now, early on, we talked about I did make changes and I to my voiceover style, but I learned that the system I was using, I put more weight on that system, aka me doing certain things every day, than I
Mm-hmm.
did on how I felt like, oh, I was messing up, I was making a mistake. I put that fear and that worry onto the system
Mm.
that I built and said, well, maybe it's not me, maybe it's the system I'm building. Like I said, aka the consistent things I was doing every single day. That if something wasn't working, I needed to make a change to those things and to stop putting so much pressure on like it was all me, like no one liked me, it was my voice, it was my like I was the wrong person. Maybe it was
Right. Right.
the system that I had built. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah, I'll go the opposite route for this Monday. I'll go a little woo. Because it's funny. I think of the two of us, right? You're much more the optimist. I'm the pessimist. You're the glass half full. I'm a half empty always. So for me, it was kind of a gratitude exercise sort of thing where I had to stop and go, okay, you have endeavored to do this. So when it's tough, right? Be thankful. Be thankful for, what are a couple of things that
Hmm.
this career path has afforded you that you wouldn't have doing something else, or it was fun. Even if it was as simple as going, well, I could be digging ditches, right?
That is true.
Anything, because sometimes that's where the motivation comes from perspective,
Mm,
right? It's just reminding yourself, right, that even a bad day in voiceover is
mm.
a million times better than a bad day in or even a good day in so many other professions.
Oh, that is the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the truth. I will never forget the day that I left my job and to do this full time. That was a wonderful day,
Mm,
one of the best days. Um, and you're right. I mean, there's nothing like being able to wake up and you're in control of what you do.
mhm.
It's really, I mean, technically, we are in control of what we do every single day. But I hope you know what I mean. It's quite a different feeling. So I do think for Mondays, it does help to have a set of non-negotiables, if you
Mm,
will, a set of what you need to accomplish every single day. And I will say though, they need to be accomplishable. If that's a word. They need to be
yeah.
able to, because some of it, if you're like me, sometimes though, I'm so overzealous with what I want to accomplish that I can write down 50, I wasn't lying, like 50 things on a to-do
Mhm.
list. Then I'm like, I'll get them done. I know
Well,
today will be the day that I'm going to shame the devil and get it all done. And it
well,
just never
no.
never. And then I come back in the next day, and I got the list there, and I'm like, ay, ay, ay. And then I
It's
make a new list.
it's
Go back. I
it's
don't even
that
try to complete the other list.
what's that right? It's the SMART business strategy,
Smart goals.
SMART.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the A in SMART is attainable or
Attainable. Yeah.
achievable, right?
Yep.
It
Yep.
has to be something that is basically it's a reasonable expectation of yourself and your business, and that's
Oh,
important to keep
it
in
has to
mind.
be. Oh, it
Yeah.
has to be. And I see so many of us put such and what you just said, I totally agree. Giving yourself kudos, credit, giving yourself a pat on the back. I see so many of us putting so much pressure on ourselves to be, Superman or Superwoman
Mhm.
nonstop. Where taking that step forward is really more important than anything. Um,
I
but
read
let's,
an
yeah,
article this morning about a Twitch streamer who whew, this girl has young woman, broken some crazy insane record. Anyway, long story short is she has been streaming her life nonstop every waking moment. So other than when she's asleep, right, or using the bathroom, every single moment of her life has been streamed and documented for 3.5 years. And I'm like, holy cow. And people hear things like that, and they don't necessarily think about the sacrifice, right? And the things that obviously this woman has had to do to make this work. But it's that overachiever mentality where, especially in today's digital age where everybody, the content component, right? It gets really easy to look at somebody like her and go, I should just give up now. I'll never be able to
right.
achieve that, or I'll never be able to. But you don't have to.
No,
You've got to do it your way
absolutely.
and what works for you, and not try to compare yourself, even though that's hard. That's hard.
Was it you who said? Was it you? I think you were the one who had that really. I thought it was you. Oh no, it was Cat. Maybe it was
Mm,
Cat. What was it about the comparison? You remember that comparison quote? Comparison is the. It was Cat. We had it. She said,
mm.
"Cat." But I'm sorry, right? So Cat, Catherine Siggers is one of our other teachers.
Out of voiceover's journey, yeah.
At VO Journey.
Oh,
But
darn it.
it was anyways. It was the idea that uh, comparing ourselves to other
Mhm.
people is not a good thing,
No, it's
right? It's a
terrible, actually.
constant terrible thing.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, we do real quick. We're 20 minutes, but we have a quick questions, and we were
Well,
just talking on.
yeah, and I saw the question, somebody asked us any tips on building a website. I'm thinking that's tomorrow's topic.
I think that's a great topic
I
because
think
I
that's
feel
what
like all I do is work on
s
websites.
right, same. Matter of fact, that's on my to-do list today. I have to
Yes.
go fix some, mobile
I
issues.
think we've got our topic for tomorrow. I think that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
So if you're cool on a little deferred answer and waiting till
Yes,
tomorrow, we will
I love it.
definitely dive into that.
Great. We do have someone real quick. One other thing about do y'all use client avatars?
Hmm.
Is this a widely used thing? I'm trying to figure out what you mean by client
Yeah,
avatars.
I'm a little confused. Do you mean like client logos? Or are you talking about
Maybe
like an
that's what it
avatar of
means.
yourself?
Maybe they mean client logos. I do
Yeah,
use logos. Like if I've
oh,
worked with
heck
a
yeah.
client,
Hell
I
yeah,
will
I do.
absolutely put a logo or something
Yeah.
on my website or something like that. Well, listen, I think that's another question you can come back a little bit more tomorrow as well with.
Mhm.
Thank you guys so much for watching today. We really appreciate it. Happy Monday.
And
You
happy
can.
Cinco de Mayo. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
Yep,
Cinco
yep.
de Mayo.
I
Good
know.
times. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Talk to y'all
Talk to you
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Bye.